Namaskar parents. Parents, in today's video we will be discussing echolalia. What is echolalia and how significant is echolalia as a milestone for a child's language development, right? So what is echolalia? Echolalia is repetition of words, phrases, sentences, dialogues that the child has heard, right? It can be anything. It can be a single word, it can be a phrase, it can be a cartoon's dialogue, it can be a complete sentence. When the child is repeating it, but it is not in context, we call it echolalia, right? So there are types of echolalia. There is immediate echolalia. Immediate echolalia means I say something and the child repeats it. For example, come on, let's go. The child immediately repeats, come on, let's go. That is immediate echolalia. Then the second is delayed echolalia. Delayed echolalia means that the child not immediately but maybe after a few hours, a few days, he starts repeating a particular phrase or a particular dialogue that or a sentence or a part of a rhyme that he has heard in the past. For example, I have a child who sometimes in between the session will suddenly start saying ee-ya-o, ee-ya-o. So we are not speaking that rhyme, we are not singing the rhyme, Old MacDonald had a farm. No, nothing like that. But suddenly the child remembers and he repeats. Right? There are certain children who start repeating certain dialogues that they have heard a particular character speak, a particular cartoon character speak, right? So these repetitions that the child makes, which are not in context, that is echolalia. When it is done immediately, that is immediate echolalia. When it is done after a couple of hours or a couple of days, that is delayed echolalia. Then there is functional echolalia. What is functional echolalia is where the child has heard a particular phrase and he uses it verbatim in the same way, the same volume, the same intonation, but he uses it meaningfully. For example, when a child comes in, I have a tendency sometimes I say, who's it? So I say that. Now there are around 2 to 3 children in my class who have picked up this phrase. So whenever the teacher changes, after one session, this next teacher comes, the rotation goes on. The moment the teacher comes and sits, the child says, who's it? When somebody enters his house, he says, who's it? So he says it verbatim, the way I speak it, in exactly the same way. But it is in context. It is correct. Somebody has come and he has asked, who's it? Right? So it is in context, but it is very scripted. Okay? So this we call it functional echolalia. Right? That the child uses it in context, but he uses it verbatim. He doesn't bring about any variation. He doesn't normally say, who's it? No. He'll speak it just the way I speak it. Right? So that is functional echolalia. Now see, echolalia is supposed to be seen a lot in children with autism. But let me tell you, when a neurotypical child so called, when they acquire speech, echolalia is a very important pre-linguistic skill. This is a skill that the child develops before he acquires normal speech. A normal child also goes through echolalia, right? So when any child of mine whom I've been working on, whom my teachers, my team has been working on, when that child acquires echolalia, especially immediate echolalia, I rejoice it. Momentarily, it gives me a sense of satisfaction that, okay, a child who was non-verbal is now in that echolalia state. Now I'll be able to shape his speech. I'll be able to modify his speech and make it more meaningful. See, what is echolalia? Echolalia is basically repetition, imitation. It is a form of verbal imitation. To get a child of autism to imitate, how difficult and how much effort it needs, I'm sure you know. For somebody like me who works with these children day in and day out, I know the amount of effort it takes to get a child of autism to imitate. And here the child has acquired verbal imitation. It is something to feel happy about. Please don't be scared of echolalia. Once the child has achieved echolalia, now we need to modify, we need to change, we need to shape that speech so that it becomes meaningful. Right? So please don't be scared of echolalia. Please do not stop echolalia. No. Don't curb your child. Ki, nahi, nahi, nahi. No. We now need to modify that speech to make it meaningful and in context. Right, parents? The only purpose of making this video is to tell you that please don't be scared of echolalia. Echolalia is a pre-linguistic skill that the child will develop before acquiring speech. Right? So please don't be scared of it. Please don't stop your child from repeating phrases. In the next video, I'll be telling you ways to shape this speech, how you can shape it, how you can modify it to make it meaningful. I'll be telling you the steps, right? See, any new skill that we need to acquire, we need to learn, what do? We practice. What is echolalia? Echolalia is repetition, echolalia is practice, right? So, understand that it is an important skill that the child will develop before acquiring speech, meaningful speech. Don't curb it, and follow in the next video the steps I'll be telling you. Please follow it to help your child attain meaningful speech. So parents, watch this video, share it in all your groups so that people become aware that echolalia is not something to be scared of, right? Share it, like it, subscribe to our channel, and let the Shakti spread. Vijay Bhava Tatha Astu. Namaskar.